Hi everyone, this is Veronica Johnson with So It Seems. This is podcast number 3, and I'm so happy that you've joined me. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And if you've been part of this from the beginning, welcome back. Today I'm pretty excited because I am in the process of needing to finish a quilt. And right now I'm at the point where I need to baste my quilt, and I thought I would show you my method for basting a quilt. For a quilt, today I'm working on a twin size. So I have my quilt top, and I've got my quilt backing. This will go on the back of the quilt. And then this is my batting that will go in between. My house is quite small. It's only 1,000 square feet with 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. The living room is our largest room, but it's not that large. If I want to baste a quilt, ideally I would be able to lay out the backing and the batting and the top and lay them out smooth and make them nice and taut, and then I would pin baste or spray baste them. My living room is much too small for that. I can do a wall hanging and a lap size, but in order to do anything larger, I have to move the furniture all around, which there's not much room to move it, and then almost have to do just partial basting. Also, to do that, I'm on the floor, and as I'm getting older, I'm finding that it's not as comfortable to be on my knees for about 2 hours to pin baste a twin quilt. I do spray baste in my kitchen dining room area. Don't tell anyone. Shh. I'm not supposed to. I should be doing it outside, but I live in Central Oregon where it is inevitably windy anytime I want to go outside and do anything. And trying to find a clear area. I do have my driveway, but then I'd have to sweep it and find a big sheet to lay it down. It's not as easy to do it that way. It can be done. I've done it before. The problem that I have with doing it outside on the driveway is that it's hard for me to secure the edges. I don't want to tighten it, but I want to be able to keep it smooth and taut so that I can pin it or spray it without any problems, and it just doesn't work. So the solution that I came across on YouTube about a year or so ago is using pool noodles. And you'll see behind me, I've got my pool noodles already there. And with the pool noodles, they aren't long enough or wide enough. Yeah, they're not long enough to be able to do anything larger than a lap size. But most people can put a PVC pipe in the middle. I actually had some wood dowels that were from an old quilting frame that had broken years ago, just a frame from a hand quilting machine. And the dowels actually fit inside the noodles, so I just screw them together and unscrew them when I'm not using them. So I'm going to show you how I do my basting of my quilt in a small area on my dining room table with using pool noodles. All right, here I am with my pool noodles. Like I said, I have the rods that are inside, and these rods that have little things that they can screw in together. So I had taken 2 pool noodles of the same color, and that way I can easily know which ones to put together because they are different sizes. See, I've got the pool noodle here. It's a different size, same with the green ones. And this way I can make sure that I'm screwing the 2 together to make 2 rods that are basically the same size. So right now I'm going to screw together these pool noodles, and then I'll get ready. I need to have 2 because 1 noodle rod will be for my backing fabric and the other one will be for my top. The batting will not be rolled on a noodle. I don't roll it. Some people do, but with the batting, I can just lay it in there. So right now, I am going to actually start with my top and get that rolled onto a noodle. All right. Now, I am just laying this out on my tabletop. I don't need to tape it down or have anything really tight, because generally if I can just lay it out smoothly and make sure that there's no wrinkles, then I won't have a problem with it. To roll the top, I want to roll it onto my noodle with the front of the fabric facing onto the noodle, so that when I roll it up, the back of the fabric is what will show. So I am just going to smooth this out onto the table. I move back the chairs so that they're out of the way. There we go. All right. Okay. We've got now the table set up. It's a little bit bigger than what I have room for. There we go. All right. This is my top. And as I'm rolling it, I'm going to make sure that it is smooth, that it's not wrinkling up or folding up on itself. And I will go slowly so that it doesn't create any problems. So as you can see, my noodle is longer than the top of the fabric, but that is a-okay. I'd rather have it be longer than too short. The main thing that I have to be careful of at the beginning is getting all of it on at the same time. Generally, when I do that, I will pin right into the noodle. Let me start on this end so you can see what I'm doing. I will roll my noodle up just a little bit, and this is where I try to keep my border even. I don't need to keep it super tight, but I do like to pin it in, and I pin at an angle so that the ball of my pin isn't sticking up too high to get in the way. And I'll just go down the noodle and try to keep it as even as possible. Okay. And this is a twin size, and I've got 3 pins in. I will probably have 5 pins in just to keep it nice and straight. I have my top border is all pinned. It doesn't matter which way you roll it, if you start from the top of the quilt or from the bottom. I think I change it every time. It's just however I end up laying the quilt out. Now I'm going to start rolling. So this is when I just smooth and I roll. And as I'm rolling, I just check my edges to make sure my border is still even along with the rest of the fabric. That way I know I'm not getting off. You know how sometimes you can roll, if you're trying to roll toilet paper back onto a roll, it never really goes on straight. That same thing can happen here if you're not careful. So I just go slow, make sure I'm really even. In fact, you should press your top. Don't ever try to quilt without pressing your top. That would be a mess. And there, that is my top. Now, if it's going to sit for a little bit, you can pin it. Just put a pin in to keep it from unrolling. If you're going to be moving it around. But there you have it. Your top is on the roll and it's ready for when you're ready to baste. When I rolled it, I was rolling my quilt top basically like this. Okay? That way it's ready to unroll on top of my batting. With this one, with the backing, I'm going to roll it up like this. And you'll see in a minute how I do that. But then that way, this layer is ready to be against this layer. We have wrong sides together. If you do it the other way, then you're going to end up with your seams on the outside and the right side of the fabric on the inside, and it's just going to be a royal mess. I try to get my backing cut wider than my top. If I don't do that, then I don't have a lot of wiggle room, and I'd rather have a wider amount of backing so that it just gives me that little extra security when I'm rolling it up and when I start quilting. All right, so here is my backing. For that, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get a few pins and I'm going to pin my backing onto the roll. It's pinned. I'm going to do the same thing where I'm rolling this up. There. Now I have my backing all ready to go. Okay, I am ready now to show you how I lay this out so that you can get the 3 layers ready to baste. I am just going to show you the basic setup so that you'll know how to do the basting and in what order you need to lay out your fabrics. I have here, this is my backing, this is my top, and I have my batting right behind me that I'm going to grab. So first with my backing, and you can see, I'm going to turn it this way, my roll of my top fabric is shorter than my backing. So we kind of see there's that end, the backing is longer, and then this end, oh, the backing is longer. And that's ideal because you don't want a shorter backing than your top or else you run into major problems there. So I will lay this out with my backing. I start to unroll it just a little bit, and I will actually be working on both sides. Okay, and then I am going to take my batting so I'm going to put this in front over here so that I can get to it. But here's my backing. I'm going to take my batting and I just lay it over the quilt. I don't want to stretch out my batting. I just need to lay it on there, make sure it's smooth and that it reaches the ends. With my batting, I usually have it a little bit wider than all of it. Okay. So you'll see I have my backing down. Here's my batting. Here's the lump of the roll of the rest of the backing. Now I'm going to take my top and I'll lay my top down over top. And then I lay it out. I'm going to redo this. I have it a little too close or a little too far from the edge. I have enough, my backing is wide enough and long enough so that I have some overlap from the backing and the batting. When I'm basting, I don't want my fabric all to be exactly the same size. When you're quilting, whether you're doing it by hand or by machine, the fabric does tend to pull in just a little bit. And just being able to have that extra room on the backing and the batting, it just gives you a little bit more stability too along the edges here of your borders. So I have that laid out. Okay, and I just make sure that it's smooth. Now, there are a couple different ways of then basting this. At this point, I'll just move all of that. I can move the whole thing if I need to move it. I just grab both of the rolls and I slide it, and I won't have any problems there. To baste it, I will either use pins, and I have curved pins that I use, or I will use a basting spray. There is basting spray. It's just Quilt basting spray. This one is by Sullivan's, and I don't know. Let's see right there. Quilt basting spray by Sullivan's. There are some other brands. I just generally buy whatever is cheapest and whatever on sale. I haven't had any issues with any of them. Some people complain about some of them gumming up their machine or their needles or not working as well. I really haven't had any problems like that. I think this one, the last time I used it, it does seem to it seems to go farther. I don't think I need to use as much. And with some of the other brands, I'm trying to remember. There's one. It's in a green or blue cap, and I think it's like 405 or 504, 503. I'm not sure, but that basting spray seems to takes more in order for it to achieve what I need. Okay, I am now set up and ready to do some basting spray. What I have is my sheet underneath that is going to protect the table and some of the spray to the floor. I try to protect the floor as much as I can. It doesn't always work. Um, I do have my sliding door that is right outside my dining room open, and I have my front door open. They are right across from each other. You can see my front door right there. That is open so that it will create a cross breeze. Thankfully, even though it is February in Central Oregon, it is only 55. It is 55 out. So it's not going to freeze. I've done this in the heart of winter when it is very cold, but you need to do that. So I have my layers ready, just like I was showing earlier. Here is I need to do over here so you can see. Here's my backing, my batting, and my top. All right, I can't just spray like this though. These are in order, so I just lift up my backing, or my batting and my top, and I'm going to spray the back. With this spray, you don't need to spray a lot. It's just enough to get it sticky. Okay? And generally, you just let it sit for a few seconds. And then I lay my backing over top. And I just spread my backing down, pressing it against the backing. Okay. When I spray the backing and the batting, I don't worry too much about it sticking full on, but you can already see it is adhering. I've lifted this up and my backing is coming up with it. So it's working well. I'll make sure it's smooth. Now I'm going to spray my batting so that my top can go down. I just like to check because I do want to be able to spray so that the edge of my top is adhered, but It's going to have a little bit of overspray, and it's going to cause stickiness. So I have to be careful just not to get it all over my hands and all over me, or all over the quilt. So now I'm going to do spray, and I try to focus on the edges of the quilt of where it's going to be so that the border is down. Okay, once again, I let it sit for just a few seconds. And then I'll roll it down. Now I go from where I have my tube, because that's the most stable, and I spread it out down. Now I'm not trying to pull it tight. I'm not trying to pull the pieces into place. I'm just spreading out what's already there. And I'm trying to be careful because it is sticky on the ends. There. That's on. And if I lift it, you can see it's lifting all 3 layers. So that's adhered. Now to do the next part, I just take the whole thing and slide it forward. I actually need to move my table forward just a little. There we go. Now I'm going to unroll my backing. Remember, I've got my batting just loose here. Some people roll it. I just don't find it necessary, and I don't have enough tubes. I'm going to unroll my backing. I'm going to lay out my batting over that again, making sure that it's nice and smooth. I don't want big folds in it because it will be noticeable in the quilt. Not super noticeable, but noticeable enough that you'll feel it'll feel like kind of an extra bulky seam in there. So I have those laid out just so I know where it is. I need to pull this forward, and what I'm going to do is I'm now going to move to the other side so that I can spray, and I'm not reaching over quite as far. I have to lift my batting back again because I need to spray there. Okay. Okay, I've unrolled my backing, and I'm just going to spray this section now. And what I'll want to do is get to the borders so that I make sure that my borders are going to be adhered properly, and then just kind of generally in the middle. When I'm spraying, I don't have to worry about every single square inch of it being sprayed down. When you're doing pin basting, you're not pinning so that every little part is pinned down. You generally just need them in a few inches from each other. And the same thing with the spray basting. You don't need to have everything saturated. In fact, that would cause some problems having too much of the basting spray. You just need enough to hold it in place so that you can move it under your machine for quilting. So here we go. I'm going to spray the rest of it. And I'm going to just continue to spray and to baste this entire quilt. Now I use the weight of the roll, and I push down on my roll as I'm unrolling it, and that helps to adhere to the spray. Because my top is already smooth onto this roll, so I might as well use And now my quilt is basted and it's ready to be quilted. All right, and that is how I baste my quilts using my pool noodles and quilting spray. Um, you can also do the same method but using pins if you don't want to use the spray, and I have done that before. Um, I find that when I'm doing especially business quilts, I like the speed of being able to quilt without removing pins while I'm going. One thing that I do run into when I'm doing the basting spray is sometimes it is difficult to get the very edge border spray down. I have a spot right here where it didn't get basted down, just because I don't want to have too much of overspray of the basting spray. What I'll often do is just pin the edges down because the inside is down. So I don't have to worry about that part, just the edges. So I'll pin those edges, and if it's not too badly, sometimes I'll just do a basting stitch on my machine, just right along the edge. That's going to end up being sewn into the binding anyway. So it's not going to affect anything if I get it right to the edge. This entire process took me an hour and a half, and that was going relatively slow as I was showing it to you. So it's a quick way of being able to baste and have my quilt ready for quilting. The downside with the basting spray is that no matter how much I cover everything, I still have overspray and residue. So I'm feeling some on the table here, not a lot, but a little bit. So I'm going to get my cleaning stuff, my bottle of all-purpose cleaner that usually gets it up pretty well. I'll check the floors. They should be okay, but sometimes there's a little bit. But I know my hands are sticky. They actually start to get kind of dirty because the glue from the spray gets on me, and then I touch the fabric and it's dirty. So I'm gonna go clean up me and the area, but I'm ready to quilt. Next time I'll probably show you how I do quilting on my domestic machine. All right, thank you so much for joining me. If you do have any questions or comments about my process, you can leave a comment below and I will reply to that. Know that there are many different ways of basting, and there is no right or wrong way. It's whatever works for you and whatever gets the outcome that you are looking for. And this is just one method that I use. So I hope it was helpful. I hope it was informational, and I'm glad you joined me. So join me next time, and I'll probably be quilting this quilt. All right, bye.